For the first part of your project, you're going to need your white 8.5 by 11 sheets of copier paper or sketch paper. You can use something larger, but you need at least 8.5 by 11. You're going to want some Sharpies and a pencil for this part. So to start out, what we need to do is create 3 sheets filled with patterns. So I'm going to take 3 of the 5 sheets of copier paper or sketchbook paper that you need for the project. And I'm going to start by dividing these into sections. So it is up to you what those divisions look like, but you want at least 5 separate areas on this paper. So I'm just going to take my pencil and I'm going to just create some lines and divide this piece of paper into some sections. So as I said, you want at least 5 sections, but you can have more. And I'm going to do that to all 3 of my sheets of paper. Now that I have these sheets divided into sections, I'm going to next fill these sections with patterns. And what I would suggest is that you fill them with patterns that vary. You want maybe some straight lined patterns against some curved line patterns, or you want some patterns that use up a lot of white space by coloring in sections or large shapes that fill the section up against areas that have very thin light areas used up with the pattern. So maybe I'd use thinner lines, not as much shapes or lines in that area. So to demonstrate, maybe this section here I end up creating a checkered board pattern. So I'm going to use my pencil first and draw some lines, and draw some lines in the opposite direction. And then if it's a checkerboard pattern, that means every other one would be colored. So as I come across one row, I'm going to put a little X inside every other box, and then the row below it's going to be opposite. So my X's will be directly below blank rectangles in the row above it. And I'm just going to put in the X's for now because I'm going to be tracing over these patterns with my Sharpie. And I don't want to take the time and waste the pencil coloring in with the pencil areas that would be dark. So I just mark them so I know when it comes to the Sharpie part, what parts will be colored. So if this is going to be a checkerboard pattern, then maybe over here I want something that's a little bit lighter, not as much marker going to be used. So maybe I'm going to create some curved lines here. And maybe every other line is going to have a leaf shape attached to it. So I would go through and fill up my piece of paper with some different patterns, and then once I have that completed, I'm going to then come in with my Sharpie and finish off my pattern so that they're nice bold black lines. And you can use fine tip Sharpies, you can use ultra fine Sharpies. It is up to you, but you want a nice black marker to do this. So if this is going to be my checkerboard pattern, I'm tracing over my pencil lines. And then my areas in which I have X's, I'm going to color those in. And I'd continue to color in my checkered board pattern, or whatever pattern I have created here, or just tracing over the lines depending on the pattern I've chosen to put in this space. So I'd continue to fill this one up. If I come over to my other pattern here, I'd trace over again my Sharpie lines. Sorry, my pencil lines with the Sharpie. I'm making them into Sharpie lines, and trace over my pattern I created. So I would do this with this page, and my third page until I had completed my sheets of paper with contrasting patterns, so similar to these. So you will need to create for this assignment 3 sheets of copier paper or sketchbook paper, at least 8.5 by 11 inches in size. You will need to divide them up into at least 5 sections and fill those sections in with patterns that contrast against each other.